Today we're going to look at an AP Rhetorical Analysis question. This one's from 2013. We're going to analyze the question. We're going to look at evidence based on our annotations. And then I'm going to write a thesis statement and an introduction that'll help us lead to that thesis statement. Finally, I'm going to use the support from our annotations to create topic sentences for the supporting paragraph so you can see how to plan your essay efficiently. So let's look at the question. It says, the passage below is from Last Child in the Woods by Richard Louv. Read the passage carefully, then in a well-developed essay, analyze the rhetorical strategies Louv uses to develop his argument about the separation between people and nature. Support your analysis with specific references to the text. So what are they asking? They're asking us to write about Louv's argument, okay, and about the separation between people and nature. This is what we're really going to be looking at. What does he say about how people and nature are separated? Okay, and how does he say it? Okay, that's what rhetorical strategies are all about. How does he say that? What does he choose to get his argument across? In other words, what's the does to his says? They haven't given us any specific ideas here. They've just said rhetorical strategies. So you can use ethos, logos, pathos. You can use imagery. You can use figurative language. Whatever you notice about the passage, that's what you're going to focus on. Okay, so you might want to use diddles. Which is diction, imagery, details, language, and syntax. So I'm going to annotate this passage and then show you a picture of my annotations just to save time. Here's a picture of my annotations. They're pretty hard to see based on the picture I took with the iPad, but I will further explain them. Okay, so as I looked at my notes, I decided that he was really talking about two generations, his generation and the new generation, the younger generation. So he saw an increasing separation between nature as those two generations passed. So I thought he used a lot of contrasting imagery and details. He used the pronouns us versus them. He used quotes by experts and other kinds of details to show the future and the possibility of the future versus the past. And there's definitely a lot of humor that I noticed. Little details, little snarky comments almost. Okay, but he does want to show how nature can inspire beauty and thought and how that's sort of going away. Okay, so this is the rough thesis I came up with. Using contrasting imagery and humor, Louv bemoans the increasing separation of people from nature, placing most of the blame on his own generation. But as I'm looking at that now, I don't like the way contrasting imagery and humor work together. They're not parallel. So I'm going to change this to humorous detail, and I kind of already thought about separation, so I think I'm going to talk about disconnect between, sort of to show that we're not connected to nature, we don't think about it, it doesn't inspire us, we just use it. I think that's something he really focuses on. Okay, so this is the revised thesis statement that I just wrote, and what we're going to do now is figure out an introduction to work our way to the thesis statement. Remember that an introduction should begin with a general statement or a hook to capture the reader's attention. In an AP essay, you want to do this pretty quickly. You need to get the title and the author somewhere in there. And you need to work your way to your thesis statement at the end. That's the point of your paper, and from there you're going to prove your thesis statement. This is really the best way to approach an introduction in an academic essay. It's not the only approach, but it'll work. Okay, this is the introduction that I came up with. Butterfly wings stamped with Skechers advertisements, children glued to screens even in the car. These are the images Richard Louv presents of our near future as he explores the growing separation between people and nature in this passage from Last Child in the Woods. Using contrasting imagery and humorous detail, Louv bemoans the increasing disconnect between people and nature, placing most of the blame on his own generation. So my hook is called a smattering hook. I have some images that I actually took right from the passage and just put in my own words. But I thought it fit well with the idea of people using and not being connected to nature in the same way that they used to. And then I sort of have the passage and the author and what the main point of the passage is about, and then finally my thesis statement. And I think the flow is good and that it works overall to get to my point. Now we're going to talk about the topic sentences, like what are the supporting details that I'm going to use to prove my thesis. Alright, so now I have two basic parts of my thesis statement that I'm going to want to be proving. For contrast, I want to talk about his identification with the we and some pronoun. I think that's the image of the us versus them that we're going to need. I also want to talk about the images of the car, how he focuses on the car, and the us versus them in the car, and also the juxtaposition. Even the humor is contrasted with some serious points. So for humor, I'm going to want to talk about the anecdote of his friend that wanted to limit the technology in her SUV, and the car salesman couldn't believe it. The fuzzy dice, the covered wagon, and sort of that mocking awe of the children with the grandparents who actually looked out the window. And that contrast with the more serious rhetorical questions and the ending, which suggests it's all their fault, that they created this world that they're living in, and sort of the nostalgia for the past. So now I'm going to take my major supporting details and create topic sentences, and then the smaller details in the passage will become the bulk of the paragraphs. Okay, so the major supporting details are going to become topic sentences. So using those primary support points, I created 4 topic sentences that in order of how I think I will write about them for best flow. Louv first creates an image of the future where nature only serves as space to use, market, and exploit, an implied contrast to the experience of most readers. Louv then focuses on the image of the car to contrast his generation with the younger generation. Lists of details and images show different views, and thereby point of views or worldviews. That section might actually need 2 paragraphs. We'll have to see how it develops because there's both images of the cars themselves and of what they see in the car. Louv inserts humor, often self-deprecating, to mock both generations, and maybe even the disconnect between both generations that matches the disconnect between nature. And finally, Louv makes several serious points that contrast with the humor, but suggest his generation caused this disconnect, that they failed their children. And I want to come back to the eye image at the end, the idea of consider the past, dream of the future, and watched it all go by in the blink of an eye, because it's that view, what you see with nature, what you see from the car, that his generation sort of dreamed up this technological future, and it has kept their children from experiencing the beauty and the thought and the dreams, ironically, of his generation that watched the world, that could create a worldview beyond media. So finally, just to sum up what I went over in this presentation, in your organization of your essay, by spending the time doing this, you are going to write a much more organized, much more complete essay. And believe it or not, it'll be quicker because you won't be struggling with the thinking while you're writing. You're going to do all your planning up front and then just speed through the implementation of your plan. So first, figure out, what am I being asked to do? Okay, and once you figure that out, look at it. Look for those things while you are reading and annotating. Annotate, find your ideas, find all the details that you could use for support so that you can find categories of things you want to write about. Third, come up with a thesis or introduction. Or if you can't do the whole introduction in your plan, at least get the thesis statement. 4, your major support points are going to become your topic sentences. And this is really important so that way you know sort of where you'll be going. Remember, you don't have to talk about everything you found in your annotations. I circled lots of diction. I might talk about some of the word choices when I'm talking about the humor, especially. But you're looking for categories, for big ideas. Some of those smaller things you're going to use in your support in the paragraphs. Some of them you're not going to use at all because you only have a certain amount of time. You only have 40 minutes to write one essay. You can't analyze every single sentence. You're going to look for 3 to 4, maybe 5 major support points that are going to be your main paragraphs, and that's it. You're going to write about what you know, what you notice the most, and support a thesis statement. If you can do that, you are going to be fine. You're going to do a great job. Okay, so good luck on your next practice test, and good luck on the AP exam in May.